I love doing this. It never gets old. And actually, I think I want to scratch off Egypt as well, because I went last year. I only went to a small gated town called Alguna, which is why I didn't scratch it off. But now, I don't care. It's going. Looks good, huh?
Hello everybody, I hope that you are well. If you've been following on Instagram, you may know that I recently just returned from 5 weeks in Pakistan. It was a crazy, intense, awesome few weeks, and I have a whole YouTube series coming for you about the time that I had there and the expeditions that we were running. But this video isn't about my recent adventures. I wanted to have a general catch up with you about where my headspace is right now, what my plans are for the rest of 2022 and what my travel plans are for the rest of the year, as well as going into 2023, which feels like it's coming around way too soon. Okay, so my initial plan for the rest of 2022 was to stay in England and buy a house. I literally said to myself earlier on this year, after I get home from Pakistan, I am not going to travel for 3 months and I am going to dedicate the time to being at home and purchasing a property. I have reached my savings goal for a deposit. My income has been steady for a while now and I feel ready. However, I am not sticking to that plan anymore, and let me tell you why. It all started on a British Airways flight from London Heathrow to Dublin Island. I started watching a movie on Netflix on my iPad called Without Saying Goodbye, which is a Spanish movie about a beautiful Spanish female backpacker living in a hostel in Cusco, Peru. A rich, very handsome Spanish architect man then comes along and he wants to knock down the hostel in order to build a fancy hotel. The girl is very upset about this and is hating on the guy for a while, but the guy is trying to win her over, and you can see where this is going. Blah, blah, blah. They end up falling in love. It is a bit of a corny storyline, but I really enjoyed it because obviously it's set in a hostel. It's about a female backpacker, which is all very familiar. But what they also did in this movie was really show the beauty of hiking in Peru. And you know, when you watch a piece of media, that it could be anything. It could be a documentary, it could be a TV series, a YouTube vlog, even the news. And you see a location that is being shared or promoted, and you just get this feeling of butterflies inside of your stomach because you feel so inspired to go there. For a moment, you imagine yourself there and you start creating a fantasy in your head of what it would be like for you to be there. This is how I felt watching this movie. So in that moment, I thought, wow, yeah, okay, my next backpacking destination, whenever that's going to be, is going to be Peru. Then fast forward to about 2 weeks later, I was in Spain in a little town called Letur in Castilla-La Mancha, volunteering with World Packers on a farm. I chose this job and this location specifically to revisit my Spanish speaking practice, as it had really been a while. And then when I got there, I was like, damn, I feel like I've lost a lot of my Spanish speaking skills and I'm not okay with that. I worked so hard getting to the level that I was at in Mexico and I don't want to lose that. And unfortunately, 1 week in Spain isn't quite enough to get that back. I need to go and spend some time in a Spanish speaking country again, and I need to go soon. Let's think about countries that speak Spanish that I haven't been to. Peru! So I thought, okay, this needs a quick Google search. What is the best time to visit Peru? May to October. Right. I have travel plans until September, but October? I did say I was going to buy a house in that time, but why buy a house when you can go to Peru? Peru. I just had a flashback. On my gup, yeah. I went to Peru and I chundered everywhere. Please tell me I am not the only person who remembers that, please. Anyway, the mind has been made up. The next backpacking destination has officially been chosen. I'm heading to Peru in the last few months of 2022, and that fact in itself is my planning start point. So with this in mind, back in May, it dawned on me that I really should brush up on my Spanish before heading back to South America. So as well as continuing to watch Spanish TV shows and movies in my free time, I've also been taking short classes on the Busuu app, who are kindly the sponsors of today's video. I knew I was going to be very busy over the past few months. I was going to be traveling pretty constantly. And when you know you're going to be in a situation like that, even knowing that you're going to be busy in your home life, it can be really hard to find the time to practice the language that you are learning, or even wrap your head around how you're even going to start doing that. So what I like about Busuu is that the lessons are always small and achievable, which makes it so much easier and a lot more motivating to get started. The lessons are literally somewhere between 5 to 15 minutes, so you can always slot it in anywhere you are throughout your day. Because something that is super useful is that you can download the lessons for offline use. So before I went to Pakistan, I literally downloaded my entire level. So whenever I ended up having free time, which ended up being quite a lot, but like on long bus journeys, I was able to just whack out my phone and do a bunch of Spanish classes. And what you're learning is always phrased in real life scenarios and conversations, which makes it so much more transferable to actually go out and use yourself. So you can check out Busuu using the links in the description below. You can try it out completely for free, and you can also do a 7-day trial of Busuu Premium, which is how I spent a lot of time on my long journeys in Pakistan and on the plane as well. It was just a great and productive way to kill time, and I feel like I've been working towards my next trip now quite effortlessly. Entonces, vamos a hablar sobre mi plan de mochileando en Sudamérica y cómo mi cerebro funcionar en el proceso de planeando un viaje. I've shared with you how I got to the point of choosing Peru as my backpacking destination, but where do we go from here? How do I actually plan where I'm going to start, where I'm going to finish, booking flights, how that's all going to work in with my schedule? So I got home from Pakistan about a week ago, near the beginning of September. I knew that I wanted to be in Perth, Australia for Christmas this year because that is where my family is going to be. It's also where I usually spend Christmas most years. So I thought, okay, I want to spend around 2 months in Peru, which would mean leaving England mid-October. But oh man, looking at the map, Ecuador is right next to Peru. And flying into Quito could be very convenient as a start point to travel all the way in a southbound direction. Ecuador is also the country that I was supposed to go to after Colombia in March 2020, before I obviously got sent home for COVID. So it feels like a bit coming of age to finally go to Ecuador. But realistically, I would want to spend at least 1 month in Ecuador, which would mean that I would have to leave for my trip mid-September. But honestly, I am exhausted. I have not been home this year for longer than 5 days at a time, and I need a break. I need to see the dentist. I need a cervical screening. I want to edit the Pakistan series. I want to see my friends. I want to see my family and spend time in London. I need to chill. Leaving in mid-September, which is like right now, is not realistic. But I have this problem, and I'm working on it, where I just want to do too much. And I was thinking about this recently. Why do I have such a sense of urgency to do so much, to cram so much in? And honestly, I blame COVID. COVID restricted us, of course, restricted travel for so long. And especially myself as a full-time travel vlogger, I couldn't do my job as I wanted to do. So now that travel is open almost everywhere in the world right now, I feel urgency to do it all, to go whilst I can, to go before things shut down again. No, they're not going to close everything up again, so that's an unrealistic concern. But I feel like this is almost like a post-traumatic anxiety response. So these are my personal cerebral and emotional battles. But where there is a problem that I have, I like to think of logical solutions. So what is logical here, Christianne? Slow the fuck down. Don't go to Ecuador before Peru. Fine. This trip can be a beautiful, relaxed, but adventurous time in just one country, that is Peru. So I started coming up with a rough plan. Very exciting. I've been chatting with my friend who around the same time will be coming up to Peru for 1 week and wanted to do a trek to Machu Picchu, which is also obviously something that I'm super keen to do whilst I'm there. So we've come up with a pretty set plan of how we're going to do this together. We've put dates in the calendar already. Happy dates. It would be more to the beginning of my trip rather than the end. And since Machu Picchu and Cusco are almost right at the bottom of Peru, it would then make sense for me to travel northbound through Peru, from south to north. So I could fly into Lima and then fly to the bottom of the country in order to travel across land northward. But quite frankly, there's no straightforward way of doing this where I wouldn't be either missing spots or double backing on myself. So is there a better way I can do this? Hang on a second. What's that just beside the southern border of Peru? It's La Paz, the capital of Bolivia. I've never been to Bolivia. Bolivia seems like quite a cool country. Why don't I fly into La Paz, see a small amount of Bolivia before travelling across land into Peru and heading northbound from there without having to double back on myself or miss out any spots? I could leave in the first half of October. It could work out perfectly with my Machu Picchu plans, and I can still spend 2 months in Peru and fly home mid-December in order to be in Perth, Australia for Christmas. So I'm like, okay, this is cool. I have a plan. Now I should look at flights to Perth, Australia and book sooner rather than later because it's a very busy time to go just before Christmas. I look at the flights. Shut the front door. I shouldn't be surprised, but I am surprised because I've never seen the prices quite this high. For a one-way, not even direct flight from London to Perth around the whole time period that I would be wanting to travel is about £2,000. And if I wanted to go direct, which would be amazing but totally not necessary, it would be over £6,000 for an economy ticket. My parents did that exact same route with Qantas. They got a return earlier on this year for £1,000. So to pay £6,000 for a one-way, nah. Even paying £2,000 for a one-way. Look, I really like Perth. We know this. I would love to spend Christmas in Perth with my family, but to be going for 1 week and to spend £2,000 on that, it's just not worth it for me. Think of what else that money could go towards. £2,000 is an entire 2 months worth of backpacking expenses. That would be my entire 2 months in Peru. I am not going to waste it on a one-way flight. So what does this mean, Christianne? It means that I'm not going to spend Christmas with my family in Perth, Australia. So where will you spend Christmas? Well, suddenly the world is my oyster within financial reason. So let's try and be a little bit logical here with our planning. We're already going to be in Peru. To be specific, we're going to be in the north of Peru around mid-December. Original plan would probably have been to fly back down to Lima in order to fly home. But now we don't have to go home. So why don't we carry on our northbound journey into Ecuador and spend that month in Ecuador that we wanted to do at the beginning of this whole travel planning saga. And Quito, the capital of Ecuador, is pretty close to the very north of the country, making it an absolutely perfect place to end this trip and fly home from there. Suddenly, we've come full circle, and I feel like I've had a travel planning orgasm coming to this conclusive plan that is oh so satisfying. So that brings us to mid-January, and you may be thinking, Christianne, why do you think it's necessary to go home in mid-January? Why don't you continue your travels through South America? Well, for starters, if I continued north from Ecuador, I'd be going into Colombia. You may know that I spent 3 months in Colombia in 2020, and it's one of my favourite countries, but it's totally not a priority when it comes to backpacking new destinations. But that's not actually the reason why I'd fly home. It's because at the end of January, I am going to be running a dive and adventure retreat in Thailand for the very first time. You may have seen me announce this already on social media, but I will be opening the bookings this week. I will leave a link in the description to the webpage where you can find out more, so please go and check that out if you are interested. And the Pakistan expeditions sold out in about 30 seconds, so if this is something that you are genuinely interested in, I recommend being quick. It's a completely one-of-a-kind dive retreat because you don't actually have to have ever dived in your life or have any diving qualifications in order to go on it, because to get your open water or advanced is inclusive in the trip. Or if you are already a qualified diver like I am, you can just come as a fun diver, because we're going to be doing so many fun dives. We're going to be diving loads in Koh Tao, the diving hub of Thailand. We'll be diving Sail Rock. We'll be having a wild party time at the full moon party on Koh Phangan, and then we'll be heading to Koh Sok National Park, where we'll go cave hiking, stay in overwater bungalows, kayaking, and then we're going to finish off the trip with a liverboard in the Similan Islands, which is one of the top 10 diving sites in the whole world. We're going to be living on the boat for 3 nights, diving all day. How good does that sound? I mean, maybe I'm biased because I did design the whole trip, but I'm so excited about it. And of course, I will be on the trip there as well, leading it, so we can all hang out together and have the best time ever. But anyway, like I said, if you're interested, the link with more details is going to be in the description. After Thailand, I will then be going to the east coast of Australia, ticking a bunch of things off the bucket list, mainly in Queensland. So that's kind of another reason not to fork out the £2,000 to go to Australia for Christmas when I'm literally just going to be going 2 months later. And then I will be back home in April 2023. And I have a few loose ideas of what I want to do next summer, but it feels so far in the distance right now. And then maybe, just maybe, it might be time to buy a house. I'll have an even bigger deposit at that time as well, so happy days. I know my travel dreams are bigger than my homeowner dreams at the moment, but let me tell you, I cannot wait to get my own place. I still look on Rightmove all the time. I draw out floor plans on my iPad. I have a million Pinterest boards with how I want all of the rooms to look. I have notes on my phone with like how I want to organize everything. But I also turn 30 next year, and let's be honest, it's 100% going to be a wild one, so who knows where the wind will take me. I think I'm going to leave this video here. I feel like I've just poured the entirety of my brain onto you, so thank you and sorry for that. I feel better. Don't forget to click the links in the description to try out Busuu for free and get started with cracking down on that language that you've been wanting to learn for so long. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it entertaining if nothing else, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.